It's prompted a nationwide campaign called Save Our Weddings, encouraging brides and grooms-to-be to fight back. Industry leaders say many of the rules just do not make sense, and the uncertain road ahead is really hurting businesses. Well, Wendy Alkuri is the campaign organiser and founder of Wedded Wonderland. A very good morning to you. Which restrictions do you want eased quickly and why? What are the most important here?
The most important are the ones around dancing and mingling. Reason being is to attend a wedding and to have to sit in your seat the entire time, not being able to celebrate. The core component of celebration is actually through being able to meet and greet your guests, having the father-daughter dance, which is a real heartbreak now for so many brides, and just being able to enjoy the day.
However, we're also trying to keep our numbers at a manageable level. So what are you asking the state and federal governments to actually do to allow mingling?
To give a roadmap to allow couples to understand how they can plan their weddings moving forward and to allow some sort of mingling. We've put forward 3 strategies around dancing, whether it's the bridal party, whether it's in 20-minute increments, a 4 square metre rule. We've just had the announcement around formals in New South Wales where dancing effectively can take place on a ventilated dance floor. I mean, 99.9% of venues have this. It's just, it's ridiculous and it's so frustrating for couples. They need a roadmap to plan. Like I said, we're going through the 3rd round of postponements. There are 22 suppliers on average that work on any given wedding.
Yeah.
Try and move 22 suppliers 3 times. The average cost of a wedding in Australia is over $65,000. These couples have taken out loans. They put their lives on hold. They're putting we have couples putting IVF treatments on hold, mortgage repayments. It's very, very frustrating. It's not just about, a wedding. It's about the celebration of families coming together, the union of 2 people, and the time and effort and money that's gone into this, the financial, mental and emotional toll it's taking on couples. It's truly extraordinary, and the stories we're hearing are just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, look at who I'm with. This is the La Familia. The wedding industry is coming together. We just had a meeting with Chris Bowen, the Shadow Health Minister, to talk about your weddings, the industry, and how this is impacting, how COVID-19 has impacted us. We have Steve, the king of Paradiso. Hey, we're in your incredible space here. We have Dina Alcan, who's been in the industry for 24 years, and we know that our couples absolutely adore you. We've received so many compliments in regards to how you've handled this, honestly. And of course, this man does not really need an introduction, but I'm going to go there. Paul Signorelli, who is like family, and is somebody who is really leading the conversation in the wedding industry, and he's speaking to every single person. He's going through his little black book and making,
We put business aside.
That's it. Look at who, it's all coming, we're all coming together.
Yesterday we did it, today we're doing it all one hand.
We'll keep going.
We will keep going, and Steve organised today's meeting, and just thank you so much for having us. And really stepping up and wanting to make a difference for the entire industry. You're thinking of everyone.
We're fighting for our couples.
We are, and we will, God willing, have some positive news. We're pushing for a roadmap. That's all we want. We want to know when things are going to start opening up for you guys. Online courses for the wedding industry, which I've wanted to do for 7 years and have finally started focusing on. Definitely, we've had people do these Zoom parties with sending out gifting and bombonera to people's homes. We've actually had one client send, because we can have more than 2 people in the one room, so they've been sending personal chefs to people's homes, creating a feast, cocktail makers and shakers to people's homes, and actually hosting Zoom events online similar to that. I think it's really important to think about what position mindset people will be in once we do come out of this. And I do believe that face-to-face interactions will be integral to the survival of businesses in the long shelf life product offering. So as soon as we're allowed, I think it's so important to maximize the time that you have in ensuring that you see as many clients as possible face-to-face. And this is current clients as well as potential clients, as well as those clients that generally come to you once, 2 or 3 times a year, or even if we have hairdressers watching here, and makeup artists and those in the hospitality space, you know, repeat clientele. I think getting them into your space and getting them to feel confident that you are open, that you are available, and that you are continually offering your products and services is so important. So use the time now to touch base and let them know that as soon as you are open, you do want to see them, and that you will touch base when that. A wedding is not a wedding if it's not a celebration. It's a rite of passage. It's families coming together. It's friends coming together. You can't take out the core of a wedding and say, well, go ahead and get married, but you can't dance, and you need to kind of keep people restricted to their tables. There's too many boundaries. To tell you that, you know, the industry, certain people, particularly in venues, and they're the ones who are, you know, really being active, because obviously they're the ones that are going to be responsible, liable, and will be holding the numbers. They are working behind the scenes and are quietly confident that we are going to hear something soon. And contact your local MP, like I said, in terms of how you've been personally impacted. We definitely are feeling more confident as an industry. You know, Diane did an event today. Stephen and Mel have a wedding on the weekend. Mm-hmm. So slowly but surely, guys, it's going to happen. But for the ones who have the large scale numbers in September and October, I can understand your apprehension. I absolutely. As you know, we presented a roadmap which was put forward from the Restaurant Associations of Australia, and it was something that was presented late last week. This was discussed in the meeting yesterday, and we are waiting for the results of that meeting. What we have presented is 100 people weddings for the month of July with social distancing in mind, to prove that the wedding industry can be trusted, which is something that even Sal Navarro discussed today on Sky News. Community management is 80% of the time that you should be spending on social media. That's what's so important. And so many people have got bogged down in the aesthetic and the curating of this feed, and have forgotten the dynamic conversation, the content creation, the collaboration, the influencer strategies, all these kinds of things that layer on to actually build your brand online. So it's social and it's media. As you guys know, I'm an educator in social media. I'm an advocate for it. I obviously push businesses to share content online and to get super engaging and passionate with what they're sharing. Right now, I think it's important to, you know, and I always say share things in context of the times. So during this time, we need to be sensitive to one another. We need to be celebrating if there are people out there, particularly these event planners and venues who've effectively been in lockdown for the past 3 to 4 months, who are able to actually do weddings and events again. You know, we should be supporting them and celebrating their work, and you know, the fact that they are back in action, you know, to a certain extent, and what the implications in terms of jobs and security and what that means to all the people that they hire. And we all just need to practice a little bit of giving people the benefit of the doubt, but as well as that, you know, a little bit more conservative in terms of what's being shared, and first and foremost, practice COVID safe restrictions, because that is the only...
Change is the only constant at the moment. Yeah. So we have seen shifts to downsizing weddings. We have seen shifts to local destination weddings, which I think is going to be a huge opportunity for the wedding market, because you can't get married overseas. Local destination honeymoons, you know, the hens and the bucks even staying and taking place within each state. In terms of weddings specifically, people still want to celebrate, as everyone has said. So it is about how that can take place, what will replace the entertainment component, what can you and can't you do. So at Wedded Wonderland, we are trying to keep our couples as informed as possible, keep the industry informed in regards to COVID-safe practices. But the shift definitely has been around mindset.
Couples at the moment have a lot of questions around this time of uncertainty, and you have a Facebook group available as a forum for them to tune into and ask questions. Can you tell us more about this?
Sure. So we launched the forum really to offer the opportunity for couples to voice their concerns and their ideas, their opinions, and there's a lot of repeat questions, and so people realise, I'm not the only one feeling this way. We also have invited the wedding industry to be a part of this Facebook group, so they can answer some of the questions in regards to, can I take photos on my wedding day, which was one of the questions when the mingling, can we mingle? Does that mean that I can take a photo with my family? Does it mean that I can walk around my reception? So, the regulations that are coming out, a lot of them are open to interpretation to a certain extent. And I think it's really important to have a dynamic approach to this and to have the opportunity for couples to have a voice in this whole process as well.
I'm speaking to business owners in the wedding and event market in regards to COVID-19 strategies. We have compiled an ebook. I've actually written the entire ebook and my team have assisted me in pulling it together in aligning strategies, concepts, ideas, and ways that your business can thrive during this period. We have so many inquiries that are still coming through from couples and from private business owners, from private events in regards to how weddings and events can play out today. And so I thought it would be great to put together an ebook that you can easily download that talks you through all of the different ideas, suggestions, inspiration, practical tips and tools on keeping your business going.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Gladys. I have a question for you. I run a large wedding media company and have been working with the wedding industry to save our weddings. You said no dancing, no singing, no mingling from July 17th. That led to a decimation of the wedding industry with over 80% of cancellations and postponements. We have been waiting for an announcement since then on when you're easing restrictions on dancing and numbers. You made an announcement around formals. Businesses and couples are completely bewildered. We want to know what's going on.
All right, so the kids are allowed to dance and you're waiting, and the wedding industry now are waiting.
Well, you're allowed to have up to 150 people at a wedding, so long as everybody is seated. So we put that rule in place. In fact, that goes further than what a lot of other states are allowing at this stage. So some states only came up to New South Wales recently or else don't have that. So we've said, yes, you can have a wedding, but it has to be up to 150 people and please be seated because we need to rely on the health advice.
With an average of 22 suppliers working on any given event, the amount of variables in trying to move that from one to another, I mentioned a little earlier, just offline, we're running a survey to actually, find out what is the economic impact of this. And on average, couples have lost, not by cancelling their wedding, by postponing over $10,000 on average. So this is something that is, for some people's life savings, and with the average spend on a wedding being over $60,000, you've got to think all of these couples that are invested in having their wedding and being in limbo. And what's next for them? They do want to have their wedding. We can facilitate it. And as you said, COVID chic, we're all for that. But what does it actually mean and what does it look like? So
the limbo's hard, Wendy. I mean, what you guys have done, and I think, your advocation of just getting the 20 people on the dance floor in New South Wales has really led the way nationally. And, I just think that's such a wonderful thing because it allows Victoria to slip in behind that. Because to have 120 people and 20 on the dance floor, it gives us a gateway to the next steps and stages. What government really needs to know from the industry sector is we're actually the best versed industry to provide a COVID-safe environment. We know every guest's name. We're probably related to them before we even start. We know where they live, and we can put the principles in to provide a really organised COVID-safe environment, far more than the public sector, public transport sector, or even going down to the mall to shop at the Safeway. So, we've got to push.
Great examples of that. Are there a couple that really spring to mind, businesses that have, despite all the doom and gloom, have changed and done some great stuff?
Absolutely. I think the opportunities around events in Australia, generally speaking, is that people are not travelling. So local destination weddings, local destination events, local honeymoons, staycations. We've just been, the bushfires feel like a million years ago, but it was actually just at the start of the year. And so many rural and, country towns were really impacted by this. So we've seen a few people create some incredible packages and offerings around that local destination.
Other things that we're seeing taking place is a lot of brides are getting credit notes
from their service providers and then saying, I've got a credit note for sale. Does anyone want to buy this? So for you guys, I think it's really important to understand that if you are handing out a credit note because, you know, the couple's not proceeding, how are you setting your terms and conditions around that? What is the service time or duration? How long does that credit note actually last for? And whether it can be exchanged for someone else to come and use your services. So this is something we're seeing a lot of unworn wedding dresses, bridesmaid dresses being sold. There are entire Instagram pages popping up that are all about, you didn't have the wedding of your dreams or you didn't go ahead with your wedding, what do you have to sell? So we're seeing stationery being sold. There are quite a number of things that these, you know, couples are really trying to sell to recoup some of the funds from their wedding, particularly those who haven't gone ahead. So if you are handing out credit notes, please bear in mind that you need to be very, very specific and clear with your what that actually means if it does get handed to someone else. We've just put together a 50 do's and don'ts on weddings for our couples, and I think we had over 100 downloads over the weekend. It's something that we've just put out for brides, I guess, to read and to get excited about planning their wedding and to build up a bit of that, oh, that's funny, oh my goodness, I wouldn't have thought of that, or whatever the case may be. I think it's really important from a content perspective, and what we've realized is the inspirational stuff, the talking points, the get excited again, this is what we have on offer, is what couples want to hear right now. There was a bit of apprehension, 3 months ago, and it was like, I can't really talk about myself or about these amazing weddings that we've done because I'm just going to upset people. And that still may be the case in Victoria to a certain extent. It's really important to write throwback when you are sharing a wedding or an event, because people are like, oh, did you see how many people were on the dance floor? And we've had so many messages from couples, and I'm like, it's last year, guys, read the fine print, because somebody would have put it in a hashtag somewhere. So definitely make it abundantly clear. We can't wait to get you back on the dance floor, for example. Here's a throwback to a wedding we did 2 years ago, happy anniversary to our couple, etc., etc. But people are now really engaging and wanting to see some exciting ideas. Just got off the phone with a business owner in our market who said that they're working at about 20% capacity at the moment. There's no other industry other than travel that is working at that capacity in Australia and in New South Wales. So we're just trying to work out why this is happening and why we haven't heard anything further around the mingling and the dancing in particular. I know that it sounds great that you can have 300 guests at a wedding now, but most venues with the 4 square metre rule actually cannot facilitate 300 guests. So it is imperative that these easing of restrictions actually makes sense for our market, that we can actually facilitate weddings based on what the consumer requires and also based on what we are being advised in terms of restrictions, but some of them just don't make any sense. So we really, really need to see a bit of movement and a bit of a push on the easing of restrictions for weddings further, to get us at least to the point at the end of 2020 where businesses are feeling confident that they can book in 2021 inquiries and not be so restricted in terms of what that actually looks like. Because of the restrictions, people cannot spend what they would normally spend on their wedding in regards to their venue, in regards to their florals, in regards to so many things. So the industry is suffering, the consumer is suffering because they're not actually getting what they want. We understand that this is a pandemic, but in New South Wales, every other business is operating pretty much as usual, and yet the wedding market seems to be the forgotten industry. So I'm explaining this to you. The restrictions at the moment as it stands are still too restrictive. We are wanting some answers. We're wanting them soon. From the 1st of December, we understand this 300 theoretical rule is coming about. Not many people are actually going to be able to proceed with that. Please, begging once again that you hear us, you understand
the frustrations, you understand that there needs to be a level of empathy.